Good morning and welcome to the Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living here in beautiful Jamaica. You are joining us on our love stream for Sunday, June the 7th. We're halfway through the year, do you realize that? And this has been a very eventful year. But we're giving thanks. There are many lessons that we've learned and many still to be learned. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Please join me now in an affirmative prayer. As we do with all things, we begin with prayer. In this moment, we recognize that there is only one power, one presence, one life, one love. This is the life that we live. This is the love that fills our every experience. This is the one power, the one presence that we call God, that brings us to the understanding that everything in our experience is for good. Whatever the appearance may be, we know that we send megatons of love out into the atmosphere. This transformative energy of love, which is resident here in the Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living at this moment, at this time. So I'm giving thanks, knowing that right where we are the power of God in full expression. We are the way God shows up as light and love, joy and peace. We let this be so as we open our hearts to let love out into our atmosphere. And as it circulates throughout every experience, God is fully realized. I give thanks for this knowing, and I release my words into that infinite law that knows how to make it so. And so it is. Our inspirational reading this morning is from a poem by Carol Campbell called Litany. I hold the splendid daylight in my hands, inwardly grateful for a lovely day. Thank you, life. Daylight like a fine fan spread from my hands. Daylight like scarlet poinsettias. Daylight like yellow cassia flowers. Daylight like clean water. Daylight like green cacti. Daylight like sea sparkling with white horses. Daylight like unstreamed blue sky. Daylight like tropic hills. Daylight like the sacrament in my hand. Amen. Daylight. We give thanks for daylight. And now we have the lighting of the candle and the blessing of people of the world. I light this candle on behalf of all the people of the world, young at heart and young in age. We bless you, we love you, we appreciate you, and we know that right where you are, God loves you too. The Temple of Light, Center for Spiritual Living, is a sacred field embodying our spiritual community from which the Christ peace, love, and joy emanate, to touch, to heal, to bless, to prosper, and to liberate anyone who comes into contact with it in any way. The light of the Christ illumines us, our center, and our environment. Our spiritual community paths of wisdom, spiritual growth, unfoldment, and attainment. We are blessed, and to God be the honor and the glory forever. And so it is. And now, you're going to join us in our lively mission song that was written by our maestro Joel Dexter as his gift to the temple, and this is performed by temple virtual singers.
The temple of light, the temple of light, the temple of light. We are a people with a vision, one spirit on a mission, to touch, to heal, to bless, to prosper, to love and liberate anyone who comes into contact with us, anytime, night or day. The temple of light, the temple of light, the temple of light. We are a people with a vision, one spirit on a mission, to touch, to heal, to bless, to prosper, to love and liberate anyone who comes into contact with us, anytime, night or day.
Amen.
And now it is my pleasure to bring you the announcements for today, Sunday, June the 7th, 2020. Our office for the Temple of Light here in Kingston remains open from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. Monday to Friday. You may drop off your prayer requests, tithes, offerings, and set appointments for practitioner assistance. Funds may also be transferred to our savings account, number 20941, Bank of Nova Scotia, New Kingston branch. And we also now have a PayPal account with a donate button, which you will see on our LoveStream on Facebook Live. We have been responding with prayer to the challenges facing everyone. You can listen to an inspiring prayer by calling our prayer line 876-978-1167. And if you wish to speak in person with one of our ministers, they may be reached at 876-289-0907 from 8 a.m. until midnight, Monday to Friday. You may also phone in your prayer requests into our office at 876-927-6145 or 876-946-2230. Or you may email us at templeoflight@cwjamaica.com. Now you have no excuse. We have given you every avenue possible if you need some prayer done for you and with you. Please join us on Facebook Live at our Spiritual Mind Healing Service, which is held on Tuesday at 6 p.m. So join us this Tuesday, June the 9th, for our Spiritual Mind Healing Service on Facebook Live. Our speaker will be practitioner Sandra Cooper. And join us also next Sunday, June the 14th at 9 a.m., where our speaker will be Reverend Sonia Davidson. We had a fabulous webinar last week, and our second webinar, which we have dubbed Lifeline, will be on Facebook Live on Thursday, June the 25th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our guest presenter will be Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson, who will join our Pastor Rev John Scott and moderator practitioner Sandra Cooper for a discussion on living abundance when conditions face scarcity. Our Centers for Spiritual Living head office has issued a statement on racism, which I would like to read for you now. Racism in the United States. Centers for Spiritual Living calls for it to end. We are grieving lives that ought not to have been lost. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery are the most recent in a list of countless unarmed African American and Black people who have been murdered for the color of their skin over the past 400 years in the United States. Too many generations have suffered, and it has never been and is not now acceptable. We denounce racism in all its forms, the starkness of unapologetic, intentional racism, the racism of silence in the face of injustice, the systemic racism inherent in our education, justice, income, and opportunity inequity, and the racism that lies hidden in our individual hearts and minds. We envision a world where personal responsibility joins with social conscience in every area of the political, corporate, academic, and social sectors. We value a community-wide climate of safety that arises from compassion, justice, mutual respect, and kindness. Therefore, we join our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, who, echoing the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., said, and I quote, "You and I should form the habit of taking definite time each day to contemplate and affirm peace with justice. For there is no peace possible without justice. But faith without works is dead. We should not only pray, we should act, each contributing the best way they have for the common purpose, each willing to make any sacrifice necessary, for there can be no individual self-preservation without the preservation of all." We call upon ourselves and the faith communities in the United States and beyond to take action that shows that we have heard the cry of suffering and we own our responsibility for it. Whether that action is prayer, donations to organizations that promote racial justice, rigorous self-education, or active engagement, let not this moment in history pass unattended. May the actions we take be steeped in peace and respect for the sacredness of each life, knowing that whatever we do, individually and collectively, must be divinely directed from a higher consciousness. When we apply our proven spiritual principles through rigorous practice and compassionate action, the desired results cannot fail to demonstrate. This quotation is from Ernest Holmes' Spiritual Armament, found in the Essential Ernest Holmes, edited by Jesse Jennings. This letter came from Centers for Spiritual Living from the Spiritually Motivated Social Engagement Committee. And that concludes our announcements. So please join us now in our song, "This Is You."
How marvelous, how wonderful thy universal love, as manifested here in you and me. I look at you and see in you the God put let's discover God within us all. This is the way to peace among the nations of the earth. Just know that God is living in us all. So let the infinite love shine through. This is you, really you. Believe God's life is the heart of you. Wait no longer to know that it's true. How marvelous, how wonderful, the universal love as manifested here in you and me.
I know that you enjoyed that, and I am so glad that I was a part of bringing you this beautiful idea of how wonderful, how marvelous we all are, and that includes all of you. You really are beautiful, marvelous. This is you, really you. And I'd like to thank Reverend Michael Rickard for the images that you saw in that montage. Thank you, Reverend Michael. And now, we're here for the main event. Reverend John Scott, our pastor, is bringing you today's message. A message of hope, of light, of peace, and of love. Reverend John?
Thank you, Carol, and good morning, beautiful Temple of Light family. Good morning, friends. Good morning, beautiful people worldwide that join us in consciousness on this love stream from the Temple of Light, Center for Spiritual Living, as we like to say in beautiful Jamaica. And perhaps this morning, as Carol read that beautiful litany by poet Campbell, you too would join us in holding the splendid daylight in your hands, inwardly grateful for a lovely day, so that together we can say, thank you, life. Thank you, God. Thank you, beingness, that we can come together and share from our hearts and our spirits the song of life, the song of praise that is the truth of our very soul's journey. You know, over the past 3 months or so, I have diligently practiced the hand washing recommended as a preventive measure, and I've been very thoughtful of the symbolism of washing one's hands. I never wash my hands so often, I can tell you. But in doing so, I think of Pontius Pilate, the 5th governor of the Roman province of Judea, best known for presiding over the trial of Jesus of Nazareth. And if you recall the story, Pilate washed his hands in front of the crowd before announcing, and I quote, "I am innocent of this man's blood. See to it yourselves." End of quote. Till today, we still say, "I wash my hands of such and such," meaning we wish to have nothing to do with it. Shakespeare, the Bard of Avon, portrays Lady Macbeth sleepwalking after she and Macbeth murdered Duncan. Again, the image of the washing of hands is brought to our attention. For plagued by guilt, she desperately rubs her hands together as if washing them, while she cries, "Out, out, damned spot." For years I thought that was a reference to me, because I had a master at my old high school who used to order me from his class by saying, "Out, out, damned Scott." But I discovered that it was a Shakespearean, a takeoff on Shakespeare. In fact, plagiarism of Shakespeare. Traditionally, the Jews are required to wash their hands and say a blessing before eating any meal that includes bread or matzah. The ritual, known as Netilat Yadayim, is typically done using a two-handled cup, but my Jewish friends assure me that any vessel will do. So, the common practice is to pour twice on the right hand and then twice on the left. Well, my friends, a few nights ago, I had washed my hands before having my supper. And then my little dog, Emoji, who is very demanding of my love, trotted up to me, and so I just put my right hand down and patted her head gently. And then realized that now I had to go back and wash my hands again. Oh no. So I went into the kitchen and trying to wash with my one hand, the right hand, with the soap. Doing this in my palm. The soap went flying out of my hand and onto the kitchen floor. So I bent to pick it up and, of course, bounced my head on the kitchen cupboard. So I was muttering under my breath, "Damn dog." It's so funny. That's so human, isn't it? When we mess up, we blame the dog, or we blame the cat, or we blame anybody else that's in our vicinity, when we are the ones that actually messed up. So you may be wondering, so why didn't he just wash both hands? Well, it was a shortcut, as we so often try to take, and in Jamaica we say sometimes shortcut turn long cut. But out of that experience came the title for this morning's encouragement. And it is a Jamaican saying, one hand, wash the other. And if you don't speak Jamaican, then that translates roughly as, one good turn deserves another. So my friends, I think about washing hands, and we use it sometimes as a metaphor for what is happening in our lives. I learned a long time ago a wonderful affirmation for when I was handling water, and it is this, I quote, I bathe myself in appreciation and in the enlightened interpretation of my life's experiences. And so whenever I'm washing dishes, or I'm bathing, or I'm washing my hands in the now COVID ritual, I just say that. I bathe myself in appreciation and in the enlightened interpretation of my life's experiences. So one good turn deserves another, and I had an experience of that this week. We use it when we want to emphasize the value of mutual helpfulness, as well as the amazing and often unexpected results that come from acts of kindness and compassion that we so often do without thinking or without looking for any kind of reward from the people whom we're being kind to. And even small acts of kindness can have a significant and lasting impact. I believe it was author Washington Irving who observed that, and I quote, "A kind heart is a fountain of gladness, making everything in its vicinity freshen into smiles." A kind heart is a fountain of gladness, making everything in its vicinity freshen into smiles. What a lovely affirmation. Maybe we could use that this week as part of our assignment. So important is kindness, my friends, in daily living, that the Talmud, a series of rabbinical writings put together from the 1st through the 6th centuries of the Common Era, the Talmud decrees, and I quote, "Deeds of kindness are equal in weight to all the commandments," unquote. But here's the thing. Before you can offer the chalice of kindness to others, you have to begin by being kind to yourself. So many of us see to the comfort, welfare, and safety of parents, spouses, children, lovers, friends. Even our pets are pampered and spoiled, and yet we neglect ourselves woefully. Many caregivers are so emotionally drained that they are running on fumes, if not on empty, most of the time. And so remember, as you give a hand to others, to give a hand to yourself also. Let one hand wash the other, as we say. Perhaps when the master teacher Jesus said, "Love your neighbor as yourself," what he was really saying was, you can only love your neighbor to the extent and to the degree that you love yourself. This special time in human history, my friends, is a great time to begin again to be kind to yourself, in thought, in word, and in deed. Colossians 3 verse 12 urges us, and I quote, "to clothe ourselves as the elect of God with compassion, and kindness. Clothe yourselves as the elect of God with compassion and kindness. And again, the Master Teacher Jesus reminds us when he said, "Know ye not that ye are gods?" It's not I, John Scott, that's saying so. Jesus, the way shower, actually assured us that we are gods. Because if we are created by God in the image and likeness of God, then we have to be a replica, a mini version of the macro, which is God in all its glory and all its majesty and all its greatness and its wonder and its truth. So this brings me to your assignment when I think about Colossians 3:12, clothing ourselves as the elect of God with compassion and kindness. Your assignment, your mission, should you decide to undertake it, is to make compassion a priority in your daily life this week. Make it a goal to speak and act kindly towards others. Psychiatrist Edward M. Hallowell, author of a book titled Human Moments, advises that to counter what he describes as the growing culture of rancor, we need to, and I quote, bring back pleasant conversation, eye contact with strangers, family dinners, and an ability to praise people and thank them for what they do right, unquote. Have you noticed that folks are indeed making eye contact from above their masks when you pass them on the street or in the supermarket? I'm having fun looking for the twinkle in people's eyes, and I have been making a point of saying, blessed, whenever our eyes, as we say in Jamaica, make four. When your eye make four, or your eye make four, it means that your two eyes have met, and they lock for a moment in a recognition of your humanity and of the goodness within you and of the love that is the truth of our inner being. And so, as you wear your masks and go out on the street, look for that compassion and that love and that joy in the eyes of people who pass you by. Smile from beneath the mask. They can feel that energy that you are emanating, and allow your eyes to soften as you say, either audibly or in your heart, blessed. God be with you. Bless you, bless you, bless you. We are one. Another way of strengthening the culture of kindness that is growing out of this pandemic is to raise your gratitude quotient. We need to live in gratitude. And you can, in fact, begin right at home by expressing gratitude to those many people who make your life more comfortable and pleasant while you're venturing away at home. After a meal, express your gratitude for a well-prepared and beautifully presented meal. Perhaps the children have made an effort to be quiet while you had yet another meeting on Zoom. Thank them for being so considerate. And in the outside world, smile and say thank you to anyone who serves you. The supermarket cashier, the gas station attendant, anybody who provides a service. And it's a nice thing to just compliment them on how they're handling themselves under very trying and difficult circumstances. I went to a particular financial institution yesterday. I got there at 3, and the guard at the door said, "I'm so sorry, sir, we close at 2:30. And I looked the way he said we, because he works for a security company that's contracted to the bank. But he said we close at 2:30. Right away I'm dealing with somebody who has a sense of ownership in the job that he is doing. And I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just here to pick up a document." And he said, "What kind of document, may I ask?" And I said, "It's really 2 checks." And he said, "If you're going to cash them, they may not, because they're closed. But give me your ID and I'll take it in for you." So he took my ID from me. He went into the bank and he came out in 2 minutes and said, "Just wait right here. One of the bank officers will be with you in a moment." And in about 10 or 15 minutes, out came the officer, and he had the 2 checks in his hand, one of which I didn't want to cash. So I said, "What time do I have to come back on Monday morning to cash this check?" And he said, "Just come with me. We'll cash it for you right now. This is at 3 o'clock and the bank is closed at 2:30. And in I went, and in 2 twos, my check had been cashed. I just said to the cashier, to the teller, and to the young man who had processed the 2 checks for me, "Thank you so much for doing such a wonderful job under very trying circumstances, because I can't even breathe sometimes behind this mask. and you managed to be so pleasant and to make the whole business of doing banking an enjoyable experience. Thank you so very much. And I said, and you know, if you are at home on Sunday morning, get onto Facebook Live and look for the Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living and listen to our broadcast. He smiled and said, all right, we'll do. I know full well you might make it, but I made the gesture. And we parted with just this wonderful energy between us. So, another example of one hand wash the other overtook me in the supermarket. I have to say it overtook me because I laugh at myself. Behind the mask, my glasses pop up sometimes. So I'm looking at a box of juice and I'm trying to see the sugar content, but the glasses are foggy and you know, don't put your hand in your face, so I'm trying to you know, clear the fog, and up comes a supermarket worker who says, can I help you? What you looking for? And I said, no, it's all right. I'm just looking for the sugar content. Notice my first reaction is to refuse her act of kindness. We do that all the time, don't we? Somebody says, let me help you. No, it's all right. Because somehow we think if we accept a gesture of kindness and compassion and togetherness and humanity, it somehow makes us look weaker or less male or less strong or less whatever. So she said, no, I can help you. Sugar content. So she looks at the packet and she said, yeah, man, so you have sugar? I said, no, but I'm trying to avoid getting it. She said, it's a good thing, you know, because my mom, she has sugar too. Well, yeah, this drink is all right. It has 27 grams. I said to her, no, love, don't give this to mama. It doesn't mean 27 grams of sugar in the whole box. It means every serving, every glass you have is 27 grams of sugar. That's more than she needs for the whole day, let alone in one drink. She said, Lord Jesus, thank you so much. What a lovely thing we stopped to help you. And I again said to her, if you have Facebook and you are at home on Sunday morning, tune in to Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living on Facebook Live and listen to our service. I'm going to talk about you. So if you're listening, Gloria, big up yourself. You were wonderful and you made my whole shopping experience an absolutely amazing example of one hand washing the other. And I may never meet your wonderful, precious mother, but I know that interaction between us has ensured that at least when it comes to buying sweet drinks, you, Gloria, will be more mindful of the sugar content of what you're giving to your loved ones. And I just think that makes me feel so good. I left the supermarket feeling, wow, I love shopping. You know how many people just screw up their face and, God, I have to go to the supermarket. For me, it's a joyous act of discovering what's out there to be bought. Did somebody say, I shop, therefore I am? That's my motto. So, my friends, I want you just to think about this week of showing gratitude, of living that phrase, one hand, wash the other. I want you to know that it is a powerful idea that we can choose to be kind. It is a choice. We can choose to say hurtful things. We can choose, to make ourselves feel bigger and better by putting other people down. Or we can choose that when people interact with us, they leave us feeling better about themselves, better about life, better about having left their home this morning with all of the pressures and all of the challenges of being human in this time, and know and feel within them that it was worthwhile. I met someone, I couldn't even see all of their face, but they made me feel like a valid, valuable and authentic human being. We can absolutely choose that kindness. We can choose to dance with life. We can choose to sing. And as Carol shared in that beautiful poem, Litany, by the late Jamaican poet Carol Campbell, we can choose to hold the splendid daylight in our hands, inwardly grateful for a lovely day, as we say, thank you, life. Let us just say together, Thank you, life. Life is so good. No matter where we're living it on the planet, life is for us. And we are a beautiful, inextricably bound expression of that life which knows no obstacles. Thank you, life. Let us share that splendid daylight, not just with those who are close to us, but with strangers who pass us on the path. We may never know the full reach and extent of the energy we're emitting, but trust me, the law of life is perfect, and you will reap the love, the kindness, the compassion, and the joy that you have sown. There's a wonderful teaching story about two little boys who wanted to make a fool of a wise sage that lived in their village. So they captured a young nightingale, as young boys will, and with its tail feathers protruding from one little boy's cupped hands, they determined to ask the sage whether the bird was alive or dead. If he said it was dead, the little boy would open his hands and the bird would fly free. And if the sage said it was alive, the little boy would crush it and let it fall at the sage's feet. Either way, he would look like a fool in front of the villagers. Well, one morning the villagers gathered to sit at the sage's feet to listen to the words of wisdom. And our two little smart Alex also arrived. And they said, "Oh, wise one, what do you think I have in my hands?" And he said, "Well, from the look of the tail feathers protruding from your fingers, it looks like a young nightingale." And the little smarty pants said, "And is it alive? Or is it dead?" And the sage took a long time to answer as a hush fell upon the crowd. And eventually he said with a kindly smile, "It's in your hands, children. It's in your hands." My friends, Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of this great teaching known as the science of mind and spirit, said, and I quote, "Love is the grandest healing and drawing power on earth," unquote. I think of this when we sing, "How marvelous, how wonderful the universal love as manifested here in you and me. I look at you and see in you the God potential there. This is the real you, this is who you are in reality. So let the infinite love shine through. This is you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and everyone all across the planet. This is all of life. This is the world that must indeed come to work for all beings, all life. Everything that exists has a place, and it is marvelous and it is wonderful that the universal love has created it out of itself in the image and likeness of its eternity and its perfection." Emmett Fox, the Irish default spiritual leader of the early 20th century, put it this way, and I quote, "If only you could love enough, you would be the happiest and the most powerful being in the world." I believe that in the same way it takes one hand to wash the other, if you want to get them thoroughly clean, so it takes our interaction with our brothers and sisters on a soul level, on a level that recognizes and honors our shared humanity and our divine origins as children of one creative, one infinite intelligence, if we truly want to create a world that works for all. Let us carry this intention in our hearts this week, remembering that the energy of love, boldness, peace, and human kindness comes through that life which smiles upon our world by smiling through our eyes, even when we are masked. That reaches out to touch, to heal, to bless, to prosper, to love and liberate anyone who comes into contact with us in any way. And believe me, my friends, it's in your hands. It's in your hands, children. Namaste. My friends, if you're having a birthday this month, if you're a June celebrant, do me a big favor and post your birth date and your name on our Facebook page, and I will do a special blessing for you by name on the morning of your birthday. In the meantime, all those celebrating a birthday in June, please just put your hand on your heart now as we bless you wherever you are on this beautiful journey of one hand washing the other. Know with me that it is a joy to serve God through our hands, through our hearts, through our minds, through our very beingness. And I know for those celebrating a birthday this month that God, contemplating its own beauty, its own love, its own joy, its own compassion, its own completeness, called these radiant souls into being, and beholding them with eyes of ineffable love said, "This is good, this is very good." And so this is the truth of our birthday celebrants this month. I know that from the center of their being to the circumference of their conscious awareness, they live, move, and manifest their lives in a victorious state of fulfillment to the honor and glory of God. This word is now released to law as the entire universe joins all of us in saying, happy birthday, happy Earth Day, happy Livity, happy you. May all your dreams and all your desires and all your loves be true. And so it is. Amen.
Reverend John, you never disappoint. Thank you so much for reminding us one hand wash the other. And in Jamaica, it just means one good turn deserves another. And you know we have another saying, bird can't fly on one wing, which means we need each other. And at times like these, we certainly do need each other. Remember, may our kind hearts freshen everything into smiles. And be generous with our praise, from the smallest to the grandest. Everyone appreciates being appreciated, being valued, valued, and valued. So thank you very much, John, for that inspiring message. We now have our musical item, which is the Temple Singers, accompanied by Maestro Noah Dexter, doing John Rutter's Look at the World. Enjoy. That is one of my favorite, most beautiful songs, Look at the World, by John wrote it. And now it's time for our prayer of Jamaica. Look at beautiful Jamaica.
Please join me in the prayer of Jamaica. And as we pool our consciousness together, let us remember our island, Jamaica. The radiant light of God's love is now flowing through us and from us to everything and everyone it touches. The eternal light of God's love now completely fills, covers, and surrounds our island, Jamaica. The glowing intensity of the light of God's love now interpenetrates and awakens within the hearts and minds of our countrymen and women the truths of life which set free. The light of God's love is now growing and glowing in intensity in the hearts and minds of mankind everywhere. Love, health, harmony, goodwill, peace, uprightness, integrity, joy, prosperity, kindness, and our oneness under God are now established. And so...
Now please join me in our closing affirmative prayer. We give abundant thanks for this experience of joy and light and laughter and love that has been this service today. We know that the presence of God has found its perfect expression in, through, and as each one of us here. And that essence of joy that elevates our experience to one of ecstasy is now finding its perfect expression in, through, and as each one of us. This is who we are. This is who we really are. God's joy in perfect expression, bringing life and love and joy and smiles to every experience that we have. We can know that at the center, right where we are, for this circumference of our common experience, there is God and only God. And God is all good. Therefore, we allow this to permeate our consciousness now. We allow this idea of oneness. We allow this idea of wholeness. We allow this essence of joy to be present, to be available, to be expressed with ease, with effortless ease. We know that this is the truth of who we are as we go from this place right now to experience the rest of our day, the rest of our week, as God, as joy, as light, as love, as honesty, as integrity, as authentic beingness. I give thanks for this knowing that I release these words now into that infinite law, that law that knows how to make it so. So it